Just got one more thing left to do before we get to Deadpool and Wolverine. We gotta talk about Deadpool 2 from 2018. I never had a chance to talk about it at the time. I had a lot of stuff that I was dealing with. Getting out of the military, I was in a really strange spot at that point in my life. For some reason, I just didn't really have the energy to go into it. But to make up for lost time, about how long has it been? 6 years. Let's talk about Deadpool 2, directed by the man who brought us Bullet Train, and someone who also had a hand in the John Wick films, hence the tone of this movie, which is very similar to those movies. Wade is now married to Vanessa, and he's killing various people, crooks, black market people, basically living up to his title as a mercenary. But it all comes back to haunt him when Vanessa is killed by some people that he wronged. And the rest of the movie is him basically coming to terms with Vanessa's death while also dealing with this kid that he befriends who turns out to be a mutant and is the target of Cable, played by Josh Brolin. Spoiler warning for Deadpool 2 if you somehow have never seen this. In comparison to the first movie, I thought it was a little bit better than this one, although in some ways this is a lot better than the first one because it does have more freedom to go a little bit crazy in certain areas. It introduces the idea of time travel, and we all know how that goes, but thankfully it doesn't really delve into it too deeply. It's a very Terminator type of plot in terms of Cable, who comes back to kill this young boy who will wrong him in the future, unless somehow they correct the timeline. And now that I think about it, it's also kind of like the movie Looper. And I wonder if the filmmakers took some ideas from that one. This film basically has the same type of humor that the first one does. The meta references, the breaking of the fourth wall, the pop culture references. Negasonic Teenage Warhead is not really in there as much as I remembered her being. Yukio, who's her girlfriend, is a really big standout when it comes to the two of them. Especially how she's so excited to see Wade whenever he's around, and the introduction of the two of them as a couple.
What in the knuckles is this?
She's my girlfriend, you intolerant.
Whoa! Pump the hate brakes, Fox and Friends. I'm just surprised anyone would date you, especially Pinkie Pie from My Little Pony.
I like this guy.
Please, honey, for the love of God, don't encourage him. This is a variant of Yukio from the 2013 Wolverine movie. I kind of like that version better in that film, but this variant here, she does have her place. After Vanessa is killed, Wade goes into a big downward spiral, going to the point of trying to kill himself, although his accelerated healing factor gets in the way. Colossus tries to recruit him into the X-Men again, and they come across this young kid named Fire Fist, who has a lot of angst and trauma where he was abused by this person who was a racist towards mutants. Played by this one actor who I don't know his name, but I recognize him from Mission Impossible 3 as Philip Seymour Hoffman's right-hand man. If you ask me, that guy could have been the Penguin in a Batman movie at one point in time. He's kind of got the look, mostly because of his nose, but anyway, I digress. I do like how this film expands on the emotional weight, whereas in the first film, it was him getting revenge on those who experimented on him and turned him into this deformed freak. After losing Vanessa, he's afraid to get close to people, but then through his communications with her in the afterlife, he's able to realize that even though they were going to have a kid, he can, in a way, still bond with this young boy who is feeling out of place due to his mutant abilities. Rusty tries to befriend him when they get sent to prison, but he's very standoffish and doesn't want to get anywhere close to him. Visibly crushed and rejected, he befriends Juggernaut, who we see at the finale of the film, while also finding himself in the sights of Cable. No, I am not talking about cable TV. I don't know why I felt the need to say that, but I did. I guess Deadpool's humor is starting to rub off on me a little bit. Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. I don't really know how else to put it. He is about as funny as he was in the first film. Almost every single line out of his mouth is something funny, to the point where I say, okay, dude, I get it, knock it off. But him meeting Yukio for the first time is the funniest scene on the planet, and the funniest thing I've ever heard from Ryan Reynolds personally. And there's also the cameo of the X-Men when Wade is talking with Colossus, and off to the side we see the X-Men just carrying on in the living room. It was one of the small steps towards the idea of sharing the universes together outside of the MCU. Fox tried to do that with the X-Men universe, and it didn't really go so well. The thing to note about Deadpool 2 is that even though it's very funny and doesn't take itself too seriously, when Vanessa is killed in the opening, it is actually very, very emotionally riveting. Wade's response is very heartfelt, and I felt for him. Josh Brolin is basically Thanos in Cable form. Very serious and brooding and dark. The right complement to Wade Wilson's sense of humor, who also can't really help himself at throwing remarks about the DC universe, saying, "Oh man, you're so dark. Are you sure you're not from the DC universe?" Even at one point he says, "I'm Batman," in their first encounter in the prison. In comparison to the first film, the action scenes feel much more heightened and crazy, similar to Bullet Train, since David liked or leached, I don't really know how to say his name. He was also one of the directors of the John Wick films. He really brings a strong sense of heightened reality to the whole thing. The slow motion effects sprinkled in with musical choices like Pat Benatar or the song from Annie or the Aha Take On Me, which I did not notice was playing in the background until rewatching this, with the line saying, "I'll be gone in a day or two." I'm more than certain other people have noticed that, but that is a really cool detail. Oh, and I absolutely adore Ashes by Celine Dion. Even though the opening sequence has the usual written by an idiot or written by the real villains, that kind of stuff, the song is actually very beautiful. And I've seen fan videos of that song with Avengers Infinity War when all the other Avengers turn to ash. I've actually thought about making a music video on my other channel with that song. Ryan Reynolds apparently wanted to bring that trope back where we would hear a song and associate it with said film, like My Heart Will Go On from Titanic, or I Don't Want to Miss a Thing from Armageddon. We don't really see that anymore, so I like that he was able to kind of bring that back into the forefront somewhat. So with the 30 seconds that he needs to save Rusty from going down a dark path, he's able to, in a way, sacrifice himself by taking a bullet from Cable, who's not convinced that Rusty's going to go down a better path. As for Julian Dennison, I don't mind him in this movie, but sometimes, overall, he irritated me a little bit. Maybe I'm alone in that. I thought he was annoying. Sorry, but that's just how I feel. Nothing against him personally, just that character kind of got on my nerves after a while. There's a whole lot more stuff that I'm not even mentioning, like him and Weasel recruiting the X-Force people that they hire off the street. One of them actually played by Terry Crews. I did not remember him in this movie at all, but when he showed up, I thought, oh my god, he's a perfect fit for the Deadpool tone. Why not bring him in here? Because he's hilariously awesome in everything that he shows up in. And how they show the death of the X-Force members, the violent deaths, and the violence and gore that are on display. Like with the first film, I would say a little bit more than the first film, it's not apologetic in that department in the least bit. Especially in the ending scene where Wade uses Cable's device to go back in time, killing the Deadpool that we know from X-Men Origins Wolverine, talking briefly with Hugh Jackman, and killing himself, Ryan Reynolds, right when he's about to open the Green Lantern script. Me and a few friends of mine at the time who went to see this on opening day, we were laughing so hard that we were practically annoying everybody else in the theater. Seeing Wade Wilson talk to Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, what a lead-in to Deadpool and Wolverine. I don't really know what else to say about Deadpool 2, other than the fact that if you're a Deadpool fan or a diehard or a fanatic of some kind, you're obviously going to adore this movie, along with its predecessor. Whether or not I think it's better than the first one or worse than the first one, well, I think they're about on the same playing field. But it has just about everything you need from a Deadpool movie, and if you're a fan of Ryan Reynolds, you got that too. So that's all I got to say about Deadpool 2. Up next is Deadpool and Wolverine. Oh yeah. I'll be seeing it this weekend. I'll try to get my thoughts out to you guys as soon as I can. But thank you guys so much for watching. Comment below and tell me what your thoughts are on this movie if you've seen it. And as always, see you in the next one.